later on in my life, I've struggled with depression, and like I said earlier, all sorts of addictions and stuff. So I've definitely had some mental health issues. But I've also accomplished a lot. I am very proud of my portfolio. I am very proud of the things that I've accomplished, and I've worked really, really hard to make things happen on my own, as well as with like help from so many volunteers, so many amazing people I've crossed paths with that have offered their support, their resources, their money, their skills, their talent, whatever, that has really helped me move forward, not just with my art and my career, but also in my personal life. And I feel like, honestly, my art really does reflect what's going on inside of me emotionally. RedAnt originally started back in 2001 when, I'm just like backtracking, sorry, I'm kind of scattered and all over the place, but it basically, in 2001, my son, who was 6 years old at the time, was in a truck with me. I had just bought it, and we were going over a wide curve that went over a low bridge in Seligman, Arizona, off the I-40. It was snowing out. I hit black ice. The truck flipped, so the tail went over the front end while bouncing sideways this way, 70 miles an hour, and flipped off the bridge and down an embankment and landed upside down. My son flew 30 feet across the freeway, landed on the wrong side of the road and in a bush. Mind you, it was like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. It was not light out yet. It was like dusk. So it was like the sun was about to come up, but it hadn't yet, so it was still pitch black. I, on the other hand, wasn't able to fly out of the vehicle. 6-year-olds are small, and no matter how you bolt them down to the vehicle, they slide right out of seatbelts. Bottom line, they do. He should have been in a booster seat, and but then again, you know, I'm really grateful that he was just in a normal seatbelt, because there was no room in that truck for my son and myself. Where his body would have been if he had been in a booster seat was where my torso was. It was a Chevy S10 pickup truck, and when trucks roll and get squished like that, the cab, basically like an accordion, just smashes down. My dad was a paramedic for 10 years, and when he drove out to the scene, said that he had never in his 10 years ever seen anyone walk away from a car crash like that. It just doesn't happen. Usually when that happens, the body is decapitated or crushed, and they die usually on impact. The fact that Donovan and I both did not die, the fact that we both lived, was a miracle in itself. The fact that Donovan only sustained very few injuries was a miracle in itself. I swear to God, it was like something from the heavens plucked that child out of my vehicle and plopped him on the side of the road. My little sister was the one that found him sitting upright in a bush, holding his wrist to his chest, and he had a broken wrist, and he had some, he basically had a contusion on his lung, so he had a bruise on his lung, and he had some abrasions on his chest where he had skid on the road, basically from his landing. Now, going that fast, it is a miracle that Donovan is alive and that he sustained very little injuries. He was a little boy. He was asleep when it happened. He woke up in the middle of the car rolling and bouncing. He remembers a lot more of it than I do, and he can actually share that with you. And he can articulate it really well. From what he says, the doors were slamming open and shut, and it was just bouncing everywhere, and he said that my body was just flying all over the cab, and he feels like I pushed him out of the vehicle, which is very possible because I was, like I said, where his body would have been. And he said the lights were like going up and down, so he does actually remember it. I don't remember anything. I hit the left temporal of my head on the side bar, where if this was your windshield right there, that bar that goes up where the door is. Now, thank God for me, what saved my life, honestly, was that Chevy S10 truck, and thank you, Chevy, for whatever you did for that model. because the way that the truck rolled, the cab wasn't able to do an accordion scrunch. That bar bent, and it bent just enough that when it crushed all the way down, it created a wormhole. And in that wormhole was where my body got stuck. So the truck was upside down. My right leg, the tibia, which is the top bone of your leg, basically snapped in half and literally jammed right through my shin. About that much of my tibia shattered. It's probably about maybe 2 inches. Shattered and was destroyed. Gone. Thank God for modern medicine, or I'd be decapitated. I wouldn't have a leg, not decapitated, but they would have had to amputate it. Thank God for modern medicine. But basically, it was sticking out, so I was basically bleeding out my leg. My left leg, on the other hand, and my right ankle got crushed. It basically, while my leg was like that, sorry to backtrack. While my leg was like that, my right ankle got crushed in between the dashboard and the steering wheel and was just pinned there. So it was like, basically my right knee was in my chest, my tibia was sticking out, it was bleeding, and my ankle was crushed between the dash and the steering wheel. I'm not a contortionist, and though I might be bendy and flexible with my legs and whatnot, that's not a normal position.